Hi there, welcome to Creating a Future We Want, Special Edition Day. This is the Our Learning series. We're basically talking about how we homeschool. My note card just fell, my cheat sheet. Um, we're in the middle of a project right now called What is a Garden? 30 Days of Adaptive Action. And we're somewhere between day 1 and 30 right now, and we have this amazing opportunity today to do this with my parents. So I wonder if everybody would introduce themselves.
I'm Wade. I'm Matt's father.
I'm Penny.
I'm Cora. And I'm Kiara.
And I'm Matt. Um, so adaptive action is the process we are using to engage with this question, this complex question, this wicked question. What is a garden? Now, we're not in the garden we're usually in, which is the garden that we have created or nurture on an island in eastern North Carolina. We're a little inland right now in New Bern, North Carolina, at my parents' home. And they keep one of the most beautiful gardens that we have seen this year. And behind me, you'll see, girls, what are we going to see if we keep an eye out? You know,
Butterflies, hummingbirds. Yeah, a lot of butterflies. There's a few butterfly bushes. That's behind us.
Dad, what else might we see as we're sitting here in your garden?
I think we will see the birds at the feeder. They're lifted a little differently. And they're in competition and they're in cooperation with each other, all for the food. And they get along and then they don't get along at times.
Mom, what might we, what do you hear, what might you hear on any given day here in your garden?
Oh, many, many bird songs. Probably frog sounds. Maybe cicadas, crickets. Anything that can make a sound is out here, so it's quite a cacophony of things.
Speaking of sound, I'm going to remind everybody to speak up loudly because we've just got a silly little phone here that we're doing this recording with. Hopefully get a better microphone here at some point. So, a question today, what do we contribute to the garden? I wonder, given Cora, some of the things we just talked about, all the things we see and hear in the garden, in this garden, what do we or what do you contribute to this garden?
Just contribute.
Good question. What do you bring to the garden? What do you add to the garden? What do you give to the garden?
Well, we give it water.
Nice and loud, sugar.
Well, we give it water. And we add the feeder. Bird feeder.
What was that?
We add the bird feeder.
Bird feeder.
And the hummingbird feeder.
The hummingbird feeder. Kiara, what do we contribute to the garden?
Well, we get it fertilizer to keep them healthy, and we add the calcium to the tomato plants sometimes, and yeah, like we trim the plants and like take off the flowers on the basil plant so that they make more basil instead of flowers.
Pruning.
Yeah.
That's a good one. How about you, Mom or Dad? What do you particularly give to the garden, contribute to the garden?
Shelter for all the different kinds of living things out here, because there are many shrubs and bushes, trees, and kind of a natural area behind us where the trees have just been left alone. Everything out there has been left alone for a number of years. so it shelters all kinds of creatures. And that's one thing we contribute by not cutting down everything. We are giving them a good place to live and hide.
How about you, Dad? Do you have any thoughts about what you contribute or what this family contributes to the garden?
I contribute the pruning part. So I'm the opposite. When we need to be pruning so we can, when the blooms, especially the roses, I've pruned them twice this year, cut them back and they've come back beautifully. And I've tried to prune other things so they can be much better. You need to prune things even though right after you prune them, they do not look good immediately. You have to wait.
Well, now that is a wonderful segue into the next question. Excuse me, I got one of those frogs in my throat.
Uh-oh.
My next question, which was, what causes us to contribute any of these things or anything to the garden? Like, what is the garden asking you, Cora, to contribute something? Or what prompts you to contribute anything to the garden? I'll ask Kiara first. Yeah?
Well, they're not asking, but we plant the garden and it's our responsibility to take care of it. And since they were made to be taken care of by humans, if you just let them grow, they probably won't do so well.
How about you, Cora? No, nice and loud. Why do you contribute these things to the garden? Or why does...
So it stays alive.
Nice and loud, what?
So it stays alive.
Introduce it.
How about anybody else? What causes us to contribute something to the garden? Or any of those particular things you mentioned?
Well, we realize that gardens need help. They're not wild. They probably wouldn't survive if we didn't help them. So we do that and we get something from it. We get appreciation and we get food and other things.
I'd be curious if you had any thoughts on what others might contribute to their gardens that we don't hear. Like someone else has another vegetable garden or a flower garden of some kind, any kind. It's very wild or it's very manicured, really large, really small. What's something that someone else might contribute to their garden that we maybe don't or don't need to?
Well, some people like really take care, like don't let them grow just a little bit. Like they make perfect rows and perfect shaped plants and trim their hedges into perfect squares.
They contribute a great deal of order, it
Yeah.
sounds like. Yeah.
Right.
Anybody else have a thought?
Some people do a lot more in the way of providing structures in the garden, which adds a lot of visual interest and also some interesting places for the creatures to reproduce and hide and do whatever it is they enjoy doing when we're not looking at them. And that creates a lot of interest in the garden.
Kiara, if you were to speculate or guess, what would you say prompts someone to create a great deal of order in those very perfect rows or put a lot of effort into the manicuring? Like, why would somebody do that?
Maybe they want it to be easier, so when it's done they can just walk through the row and pick the plant, pick tomatoes, strawberries, and whatever it is easily. Yeah.
Anybody else have another thought on that? why would someone contribute a lot of energy to, say, extreme order or preciseness in the corners of the garden and the rows, in the size of the plants, for instance?
What do you think, Walter?
Well, I think precision. Some people like things exactly the same, very orderly, very
Symmetry.
precise. Makes them feel good, and maybe it helps the plants if it's cut a certain way and kept neat and tidy.
Yep.
It allows the air to circulate around the plants, and probably makes it easier to see the pests that are on the plants that could be harmful.
I wonder, now what? And adaptive action is a process of iterative cycles, recursive iterative cycles, I guess, of 3 questions. What are those 3 questions? Loud, Cora?
What, so what, now what?
I don't think someone wants to
Did you say it
be
loud?
here right now.
Speak up.
So let me ask you one last, well, maybe 2 more questions, but this question is, now what questions might you have about our partnership with the garden? Now, this concept of partnership came up right at the beginning of our conversation. So I wonder, do you have any wonderings or any curiosity about our partnership, where we are contributing things for particular reasons to the garden? Do you have any questions or curiosity about this partnership?
Well, like why some people like to have gardens, like for specific reasons, because everybody probably has a different reason that they want to have their garden. Like for look, or for food, or for the fun of making the garden.
Grandma and I had a neighbor right next door who always fixed his garden, and his wife told me the reason he does that is because his father always had a garden. So he feels like he should have a garden too.
What, Dad, what question would you ask about that situation that you've just described to us?
I guess if I talked to that person, I'd ask him, do you really enjoy doing this? Or are you doing it out of some type of obligation?
Are there any other curiosities or wonderings that you'd have about our partnership with the garden?
Can't think of anything.
So,
Sorry.
last question, if for just a last little thing, because this whole project is about what is a garden. After this conversation about partnership and contributions and our motivations, what is a garden? What have we learned? Now, what have we learned about what is a garden?
A garden is garden consists of living things that would not necessarily grow naturally, but we introduce it to the environment, but only things that can be helpful to us. And it's just, a garden is just everything. It's huge variety in color and shape and useful produce and then the creatures that live in those things. So it just provides this neat little small world that's unlike our natural world.
And to some people, it's an extension of themselves. There's no doubt about this.
Yeah.
Some people live for the garden.
Yep.
Well, that's a lot to think about. Thank you, everybody, and thank you. Thanks for visiting Creating a Future We Want, our learning series. What is a garden? 30 days of adaptive action. We'll see you soon.